Okay, another short lesson here. Um, we're working through a section of the book called Ethos, Pathos, and Logos. These are Greek words, ancient Greek words, and they were, and you'll know this from the reading, points made, they refer to, in this instance, points made by Aristotle. And Aristotle, um, well, he lived a long, long time ago. He was a student of Socrates and at one point it is believed a contemporary of Plato, and also tutor to Alexander the Great, who conquered all sorts of places and did all sorts of things. But that's neither here nor there. Aristotle is kind of a big name in philosophy and in history and even in the sciences. And Aristotle noted really three ways that people are persuaded, or three different ways that we come to, we being people in general, come to accept things as true. Okay? Now, the, two of them will be problematic. Two of them will be problematic. But those three ways he referred to as ethos, pathos, and logos. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at what each of those are. Ethos is a speaker's passion for something. Okay? It refers to ethos is a person's attributes. It's charismatic people, people who have sort of glowing personalities, maybe even nice hair, pretty face, you know, their qualities or sort of aura or sort of features of a person that make them attractive and believable to us. And let's be honest, there are people that we trust because they look a certain way, and there are people that we do not trust because they look a certain way. And we judge people based on, and we accept things as plausibly true or false based solely on people's personal attributes. People running for president dress nice. They attempt to dress presidential. Why? Well, because we assess whether or not they are a good candidate for president based on, in part, how they dress. The second one, Aristotle referred to as pathos. Now, pathos, if you've taken a psychology course or sort of read up on psychology, pathos has to do with our emotions or our passions or our feelings, really, okay? And another reason why we come to accept things as true has to do with our emotions. When I get angry at my wife, or when I get angry at my friends, or when I get angry at my children, my anger can often lead me to believe things that may not be true. Okay, people attempt to convince us that things are true and false by tapping our emotions all the time. That is, in the business world, what we call advertising. Okay. You should buy this car, and now why? Well, look how satisfied and happy and wonderful life will be if you have this car. Look at the status you'll have. Look at the pride you'll feel. All of these are appeals to emotions as an attempt to get us to do or to believe things. That's pathos, okay? Logos refers to reason and argument, okay? Reason and argument has to do with what we've studied so far, premises and conclusion and the whole nine yards. Now, Aristotle and all other major thinkers have realized a very important point from all of this, and here's the point they've realized. Ethos and pathos do not get us to truth. I don't know that what someone is saying is true because they're dressed nice or because they have a nice ethos. Okay? I'm more apt to believe them, unfortunately. I'm more apt to accept what they're saying as true because they have a nice ethos. Say that to sometime, by the way. Tell them they have a nice ethos, right? Just very weird thing to say, but we do. We are drawn to accept things as true or false based on what the person who's telling us that looks like. Now, if your intention is to go into law enforcement, if your intention is to go into the medical field, the first thing you have to learn is don't judge a book by its cover. Somebody who looks and dresses well doesn't mean that they aren't in your office attempting to get an illegal prescription for some painkiller, okay? Or trying to get a prescription for some painkiller, right? So if you're a nursing student or in the medical field, you can't be swayed by that, right? You have to look at the facts of their case. The same thing with pathos. Pathos doesn't lead to truth. That I feel a certain way about something means nothing about whether that thing is true or false. Maybe I am truly afraid of global warming. My fear of global warming doesn't imply that global warming is actually true or false, by the way, right? Maybe I really don't want it to be true. Well, that doesn't mean that it's not true, right? Why? My wanting it to be that way has nothing to do with it actually being that way. My emotions on a subject never lead me to truth. What does lead us to truth is only logos. It is only reason and argument that gets us to truth. So in that now, Aristotle made points about persuasion and argument. And here's what we find. Ethos and pathos are both persuasive, and ideally, logos is persuasive as well. So in the relationship between persuasion and argument, what's important for you to note is that persuasion is not the same as an argument. I may present a rock-solid argument for some conclusion and still have people unpersuaded by it. Now, why would that be? Well, people believe or don't believe things for any number of reasons. Not always, and when I say reasons, I don't mean reasons. I mean pathos and ethos sort of reasons, okay, that have nothing to do with truth. So don't confuse whether someone is persuaded to believe something with whether or not the argument for that thing is good or bad, whether the reasoning there is good or bad. Not all persuasion is an argument. We can certainly persuade people by appealing to their emotions, by dressing nice. If you've taken a speech communications course, Scott Wilson or one of the other speech communications teachers, they may talk to you a bit about your ethos and how you project yourself as assertive and strong and yada, yada, yada. Different ways of persuading that are not an argument. That's fine. So not all persuasion is an argument. The good arguments should be persuasive. But notice that even in my slides, the word should be is italicized. Okay? It should be persuasive. It should be rationally compelling. But there are all sorts of biases and prejudices that we hold that get in the way of us being truly perfectly rational all the time. Okay? Now, what we hope is that we can sort of come to recognize that we might be biased and perceive the biases in ourselves and then appropriately react to counteract them. But no guarantees, right? Keep in mind here in this relationship that only an argument is truth conferring or truth indicative. But even though you give a good argument, someone may not be persuaded by it. That's fine. It's totally cool. I mean, you can't compel people, right, to believe things. You can present a good argument, and if they don't, then they don't. They're probably being more influenced by pathos or by ethos. But notice this in your own reasoning as well, that you should be open to the idea that you're not always accepting things as true on the grounds of reason. Every person is impacted by ethos and pathos. Every single person. It's part of the human condition. But ethos and pathos do not get us to truth. Only logos does. Only reason does. Okay? All right. That's it for that quick lesson as well.